Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because you're looking to really get the important stuff from some complex sources quickly, thoroughly.
And hopefully have a few of those aha moments, right?
Exactly, without feeling totally overloaded. That's what we aim for.
Absolutely. And today, we've got a really unique one. Our listeners sent in Gideon Fluxes on the physics of organic Earth 2.
Ah, flux. Right.
And our job, basically, is to unpack this pretty revolutionary idea he puts forward.
Mm-hmm.
The Coccotunnella unification theory. CUT for short.
Okay, CUT. But before we jump straight into that, we probably need a bit of background from his earlier work, The Organism We Are.
Definitely. That's the foundation. You have to ditch the whole universe as a machine idea first.
Right. Forget the clockwork universe.
Flux proposes something, well, much more mind-bending, a living, interconnected organism. He calls it Coccotunnella perpetua.
A living universe. And the scale of that, I mean, he suggests everything around us. Tables, chairs, rocks.
Is its flesh?
Yeah?
And people. Us. We're like the blood flowing through it.
Okay, that takes a minute to process. So, like, my house isn't just wood and plaster.
In Flux's view, no. It's alive. That creak you hear in the floorboards, maybe that's a sigh of life.
Huh. And a whole city.
A sprawling beast. Roads are arteries, buildings the skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
You get the idea. It's a total perspective shift.
It really is. And this isn't just poetry, is it? On the physics of organic Earth 2 takes this organic idea where...
Right into fundamental physics, seriously. Yeah. Gravity, consciousness, even tackling infinity, all through this organic lens.
Okay, so definitely not your standard physics textbook. We're mixing science, philosophy, a very singular view of reality.
Exactly. So buckle up. This deep dive might just shift some paradigms.
Let's start where Flux does in the second book, Chapter 2, Conscious Dynamics, building on that organic universe idea.
He proposes a conscious theory of gravity.
Conscious gravity. Okay, right there, that's a turn. Forget just mass pulling mass.
Yeah, he introduces these 14 conscious lords. Lord of Time, Lord of the Sun, names like that.
Lords, like
yeah,
cosmic managers, sort of. They govern cosmic phenomena through their collective will. That's the idea.
So gravity isn't just there. It's a conscious response.
Exactly. A response to an observer's perception. Think about, say, a cup falling off a table.
Oh, okay.
In CT, it's not just Physics 101. It's the organism, Coccotunnella, consciously directing it, influenced by your awareness that the cup might fall.
Wow. That really challenges. Well, everything about objective reality, doesn't it? If the observer is actively involved at that level...
It's a radical departure. Cause and effect get completely rewired. You're not passive, you're participating in shaping reality.
So how do you even model something like that? It sounds unmodelable.
Flux uses a conceptual tool, a seesaw mechanism.
Okay.
Picture a seesaw.
Okay.
You, the human observer, noticing the cup, you're on one side. The whole rest of the cosmic system is on the other.
But it's not about physical weight balancing.
No, it's conscious interaction. He talks about symbiosis, that's attached perception, feeling connected to the cup.
And conflict, detached perception, seeing it as separate. These states affect the seesaw's tilt.
How? What makes it tilt?
Through break-off events of conscious soldiers inside the objects.
Conscious soldiers. Okay, you need to explain that one.
Yeah, not literal soldiers. Think of them as fundamental units of consciousness within matter, like little bits of awareness.
Okay.
Their break-off is like a shift in these units. It changes how the object interacts with this conscious gravity field.
So the soldiers moving is the gravity effect, not the cup's mass.
Pretty much. That's what tilts the seesaw, makes the cup fall. He even gives an equation.
He break off.
If KV.
Yeah, it's perception.
Your intensity of perception, yeah.
Yeah.
K is a constant. Then there's G, a random gravity factor, plus 1 up, -1 down, 0 sideways.
Okay, so perception, soldiers, a seesaw. And then there's this revolutionary echo. What's that add?
Ah, yes. That introduces chaos. Unpredictability. It's described as a metaphysical resonance.
Where does it come from?
Get this, from the rebellious reverberations of lower conscious beings within the big organism.
Lower beings. So it's not all directed by the lords. They're static from the ground up.
Seems so. It adds this layer of unpredictability to the whole system. Makes it feel more organic, less deterministic, perhaps.
And our role as observers with that V for perception, that's the trigger.
That's the key. Your awareness kicks off these break-off events, the system responds.
Like his example of the driver seeing a slowdown.
Exactly. The driver's perception, V increases, could trigger a conscious gravitational effect, maybe helping the car slow down. The universe noticing you notice.
It's so interactive. And this conscious dynamic stuff, it's not just for falling cups or cars, is it?
No, Flux suggests it applies across scales. Geopolitics, even disease dynamics.
Like the tension between countries being a kind of gravitational pull or push.
Within this framework, yes.
Yeah.
Or a doctor's focus on an outbreak influencing its spread. It's a completely different way to view, well, everything.
Okay, my brain is officially stretched. Let's move to chapter 3, infinite wobble speed. How does this living universe handle infinity? That's always a big problem.
Right. This is where his BioSim simulation comes in. It's built specifically to explore infinity within Coccotunnella perpetua.
BioSim. Okay, and it starts with a helix.
Yeah, the helix is like a precursor model. It represents thinking all kinds.
Rational, irrational.
Rational, irrational, even imaginary. He uses different number types. Integers, fractions for rational, root 2 for irrational, I for imaginary.
And ties them together.
With an equation.
Yeah.
X goes type 5 t phi, 0.1 t. X and Y oscillate like different thought modes cycling.
Yeah.
Z increases like time or an idea developing.
Okay, I can sort of picture that. Then how does the seesaw come back in?
The simulation shifts to the seesaw model, but now with equal weights on both sides.
Equal weights, so it just wobbles back and forth.
Exactly. Its oscillation connects back to the helix's cycle. Then come the seesaw paradox equations. They're complex math.
Just give us the gist.
They basically define the seesaw's acceleration and position. They model how it wobbles, influenced by different frequencies and forces. Importantly, the starting wobble frequency is 0.5 radians per second, just like the helix equation.
Okay, so it starts wobbling at a normal speed. Why make it go infinitely fast? What's the point of omega right arrow infinity?
That's the critical simulation step. When the wobble frequency goes infinite, all those oscillations, they just average out.
They cancel each other out.
Effectively, yeah. Over time, the X and Y positions become zero. You're left with just movement along the Z axis.
A straight line from infinite wobble.
A straight line. X0, Y is 0, going from 0 to 1.5 in the simulation. Flux calls this a unified state, T1. All thought modes converged.
Wow, okay. That's it. Counterintuitive. A straight line from infinite chaos. What makes it wobble infinitely fast? Is it just a setting in the simulation?
No, there's a mechanism. Remember the 14 conscious lords?
It's in the gravity chapter. Yeah.
Here they're divided.
Yeah.
Side A, expansion forces. Side B, grounding forces.
Like cosmic teams.
Kind of. Each lord has a vitalis strength, calculated with something called the pulse thread equation, PTE.
So it's a cosmic tug of war on the seesaw.
Pretty much. And side A, with lords like the sun and gravity, has slightly more total vitalis than side B, with lords like space and energy.
An imbalance.
And that imbalance is the engine. Side A pulls harder, more often. The seesaw tilts more intensely, more frequently. It accelerates the wobble.
Towards infinity. And the PTE, what does that do besides calculate strengths?
It calculates each lord's flow to the beast. The formula is TPS, A dot P minus S minus K dot P dot S. P is perception, S is strength, A and K are constants.
Okay, don't need the full math breakdown, but it quantifies their influence.
Right, and it generates a net flux trying to balance the vitalis difference, but side A's slight edge keeps driving the acceleration.
Got it. And this straight line that forms, the Z line, Flux calls it the front line of conflict.
Yeah, and this perpetual war between expansion and grounding. They give a front line having extent, right, not just a point. The Z-axis represents that extent.
So the infinite wobble locks the conflict onto this line.
Exactly. It channels the energy, and this line embodies unified consciousness, where the Lord's different Z-effects merge.
Z-effects, aspects of consciousness.
Something like that. Different states linked to each Lord, now unified. And this line formation is crucial because it's going to become the system's skin.
Skin, like actual skin.
Metaphorical but structural. Chapter 4, Skin Dynamics. That straight Z line transforms into a cube. Side length about 0.5 units in the simulation.
A cube from a line. How?
That's where H-space comes in, which we'll get to. But the key thing is the walls of this cube are the skin.
The skin of what?
Of omega, which is the simulation's representation of a unified piece of Coccotunnella perpetua. And this skin contains that infinite internal speed from the wobble.
Whoa. So infinite speed inside, but contained by this cube skin. How does the skin not just explode?
Dynamic energy exchange. Constant turnover. The skin is always adding energy, plus minus 4 dick, and subtracting energy almost simultaneously.
Like cells regenerating.
Exactly like cellular turnover. It maintains stability despite the crazy internal energy. Scaled by that PTE flow, T1.
And the revolutionary echo is still messing things up slightly.
It adds chaotic fluctuations to that turnover. Makes it feel less mechanical, more alive. Keeps it from being perfectly smooth.
And the equal weights on the seesaw? Still important.
Crucial. They ensure the energy turnover is symmetrical across all faces of the cube. No weak spots.
Okay, so infinite wobble squared, straight line vertex with dynamic skin containing infinity. This simulation is complex. Now, you mentioned H-space, enabling the line-to-cube thing, Chapter 5.
Right, H-space, defined as a non-reality medium, specific dimensions in the sim, 3 by 4 by 5 meters. It's outside normal physics.
Non-reality, why? What does it do?
Its main job is to let these infinite processes happen without breaking the simulation. It's the place where the line can bend into a cube. It contains the infinite energy.
A container for paradoxes, almost.
That's a good way to put it. It has components. The central omega entity orbiting spheres, a parameter lambda.
So it's like a safety zone in the code.
Essentially, yeah. A conceptual space built to handle things our physics struggles with. The revolutionary echo interacts with it via those spheres. And again, the seesaw's equal weights maintain symmetry in how each space influences things.
Makes sense as a simulation construct.
Yep.
Okay, so we have this stable-ish system with infinite energy contained. What happens if it gets damaged? Chapter 6, injury and energy dynamics.
Right, the injury scenario. The gamma entity from H-base interacts with the omega cube.
Okay.
This disrupts omega's internal unity, reduces it from 1 down to 0.9. Like the organism gets hurt.
And the consequence?
Energy release.
Yeah.
A lot of energy because it's tapping into that contained infinity. It bursts out into H-space.
How is that visualized?
Gamma's radius grows massively to 1.5 units. The formula is Ecas infinite unity injured. Basically, the released energy depends on how much unity was lost.
And H-space just soaks it up.
Yeah.
Because it's non-reality.
That's its function. It absorbs the infinite energy release. The orbiting spheres help manage it. The echo modulates it dynamically.
Chill, unpredictable.
Yep. And the equal seesaw weights. They ensure the energy release from the injured omega cube is symmetrical. Balance is always key.
Even in injury, the system tries to maintain order. Okay, Chapter 7 connects this back to real physics, right? Computational modeling of infinity.
Exactly. The big problem in physics is that infinity usually breaks our models. Singularities, nonsense results.
Right. Black holes, quantum fields. Things get weird.
BioSim offers a different approach. It treats infinity not as a problem to avoid, but as a manageable dynamic within this organic framework.
How? Through all the things we discussed.
Through the infinite wobble, H-space acting as that non-reality container, the skin managing energy flow, infinity becomes part of the system's normal operation, not a breakdown point.
So infinity is a feature, not a bug, in Flux's universe.
That seems to be the suggestion. And the implication is, maybe this framework could offer new ways to think about those difficult areas in physics where infinity currently trips us up.
Interesting. Could we model black holes as features of a living system instead of singularities?
That's the kind of thinking this might provoke, yeah.
Okay, and this ability to handle infinity leads into the paradoxes. Chapter 8, Resolving Hilbert's Hotel. Remind us quickly.
Hilbert's Hotel. Infinite rooms, all full. But you can always fit more guests by shifting everyone over. Shows how weird infinite sets are.
Mathematically solved with set theory, but still feels weird.
Right. BioSim resolves it differently. The infinite rooms are equated to the infinite capacity inside the omega cube.
Big capacity enabled by?
The infinite wobble speed. That's what creates the potential for infinite capacity. Flux gives a function.
Yeah.
That tells Brown plus NL.
LF null, the infinity of integers.
Representing the baseline infinite rooms. NL if two new guests. Unity engineer is the cube's current unity. Even if injured unity 1, the capacity remains infinite because of the L10.
So infinite capacity isn't just static. It's a dynamic property of this simulated living system supported by H-space and the STIN.
Precisely. It models infinite capacity as an ongoing process.
Okay, one paradox down, potentially. Chapter 9 starts on Zeno's paradoxes, though the source was partial here.
Yeah, just the beginning, Zeno's paradoxes. Like the dichotomy or Achilles and the tortoise.
The ones that argue motion is impossible because you always have to cover half the remaining distance an infinite number of times.
Those are the ones. They challenge motion based on infinite divisibility. The source just introduces them.
But the implication is that this framework, which handles infinity dynamically, might offer a new way to look at Zeno's challenges to space, time, and motion.
That seems to be where Flux is heading, yes. Using the BioSim concepts to potentially reframe those ancient puzzles.
Wow. Okay. That was a lot. Let's try to sum up the journey.
We started with the basic but radical idea. The universe as a living organism. Coccotunnella perpetua.
Right, where objects are flesh and we're blood.
Then we saw how that led to a conscious theory of gravity, governed by 14 lords, responsive to perception. modeled by that seesaw.
With conscious soldiers and the unpredictable revolutionary echo.
Then the BioSim simulation tackled infinity. The helix model of thought, leading to the infinitely wobbling seesaw.
Which averaged out into a straight Z line, the front line of a cosmic war between expansion and grounding lords.
Driven by their vitalis imbalance, calculated by the PTE.
That line then formed a cube, omega, with a dynamic skin containing infinite energy, all happening within the non-reality of H-space.
We saw how the system handles injury by releasing energy into H-space, and how this entire framework offers a way to model infinity computationally without singularities.
And finally, how this approach starts to address classic infinity paradoxes like Hilbert's hotel and potentially Zeno's paradoxes.
It's definitely a unique perspective on physics and reality, all tailored from the source material for you, our listener.
It really forces you to question things. Is the universe just dead matter and forces, or is there something more alive, more conscious at play?
And that leads to our final thought for you. How does considering this a living, conscious universe change how you see everyday things? That creaking floorboard, the stars.
Or even the concept of infinity itself. Is it just math, or is it woven into the fabric of a living cosmos?
Definitely something to mull over. We'd encourage you to explore Flux's work further if this sparked your curiosity. The Coccotunnella unification theory certainly gives you a lot to think about.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this very deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning.
And keep exploring.